Hey folks, James Caton here. A really quick intro to today's episode. Today we talk with Eleni Rachaniotou, manufacturing industry leader at Microsoft. Today's conversation is about agentic AI in manufacturing, so it's a unique conversation. We talk about how agentic AI and generative AI help bridge the divide between IT and OT technologies, the opportunity for new revenue streams through integration and orchestration of ecosystems, and the opportunity for AI innovation boards to govern and optimize the execution of AI projects. So I enjoyed this conversation. I think you will too. As a quick reminder, these interviews are part of an Agentic AI Playbook being published by Microsoft. The download link is in the show notes. If you enjoy these conversations, share it with a friend. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and on your video platform. Listen on. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to today's episode. We are joined today by Eleni Rachaniotou from Microsoft. Eleni, would you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do at Microsoft so that our audience knows what your perspective is on agentic AI and where you come from and what you kind of are hearing in industry?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, James. Hello, everyone. So glad to be here. My role currently is a Chief Technology Officer for the worldwide partner organization, and more specifically for software development companies, software builders that span across actually many different verticals and industries, including manufacturing, mobility, and energy too. What we do with these software development companies is both co-development and co-innovation. We lay out the strategy, the technology strategy with them when it comes to their first party for their IP, product portfolio and flagship products that they sell to their end customers. When we talk about co-innovation, actually a key element of co-innovation is AI, generative AI. We also look at data innovation, data engineering innovation, and security innovation. The co-development aspect includes modernization of their solutions and products on Microsoft Cloud, and what I call SaaSification, bring more cloud native features and capabilities into their product portfolio. The innovation piece is the one that we're focused today in today's conversation. Thank you so much for having me here, and especially for manufacturing. My last 5 years within Microsoft has been apparently mostly on the industry side, and manufacturing and energy has been in the core of the work that we've been doing in terms of co-innovation, working with companies, software builder companies like Siemens and Rockwell, PTC, Honeywell, Blue Yonder, supply chain and consumer packaged goods as well. And the list goes on. These are like the top, software development companies in the world. There is a lot of transformation, a lot of discussions around generative AI and agentic implementation these days. And I'm happy to provide some insights and current trends that we see out of these major builder companies as we build with them and then we sell with them to our joint customers in the market.
Eleni, I am really looking forward to this conversation. I think it's gonna, the focus that you bring, you're in the center of this industry transformation. So very excited to have this conversation. High level, top of mind across the industry today is agentic AI. How are your partners approaching agentic AI? What is the opportunity that they see? And what use cases or business areas are they looking at initially for business transformation?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's been a journey, to be honest. If I look back the past 24 months, there's been a huge evolution and revolution, right? These major software development companies started their journey in generative AI by, first of all, understanding some use cases and how they can extend our first-party copilots, amazing functionality like M365 copilots when we look at Teams or Dynamics 365 copilots, or GitHub to begin with, right? That our journey as a company started with a GitHub Copilot. So from a product development, life cycle management also perspective, GitHub played a key role of first internal adoption with these software development companies to see how they can accelerate their own product development, DevOps, and also modernization and replatforming of their own solutions. So the first use case we saw was, again, extensibility and integration with Microsoft first-party Copilot's assistants for process-driven tasks or software development tasks. The next phase of the journey that we saw last year was to actually have more intense tasks automation through custom copilots development. So when we look at business, and this journey, this phase actually is still ongoing, right? Like the adoption of and development of custom copilots has been in an evolution journey for the last 12 to 14 months, to say the least, from companies like Adobe and SAP, but also in manufacturing space, Siemens, Rockwell, PTC. So this the primary use cases we see when it comes to manufacturing industry, and I would extend to energy as well, they're primarily falling into two categories. One is the data connection between IT and OT world. When we look at the industry in terms of manufacturing. This is like a primary use case where all the biggest manufacturing software development companies are looking into ways on how they connect these two worlds, IT and OT world. So for example, if I look at Siemens NX and Industrial Edge also Copilot. What they've been doing is trying to interoperate IT and OT data planes through this kind of Copilot, right? The industrial Copilots that they have been launching and already in private preview, deployed in some major customers since end of 2024 calendar year.
And a
Yes,
quick question, Eleni, for those
please.
folks that don't live in this world of
Yes,
manufacturing,
right.
could you define what IT and OT is?
Yes, a great point. So IT data is IT data that's coming from our system and software solutions. OT data lives on the edge, right? Physical assets that are coming from devices on the edge, sensors, right? IoT devices out there. And of course, in manufacturing world, we have a tremendous set of physical assets that live on the edge, and manufacturers need to manage, right? And
So,
get
so maybe
data.
these are production lines and
Production
there's
lines in a
equipment.
factory, exactly. The equipment, a huge device, even robots or robotics that humanoids that we see in the future maybe. But today, robots, operations in mobility and automotive, for example, industry, sensors that capture temperature, heat, and other kind of signals from example from a floor shop, right? From a shop floor in manufacturing in a factory. So anything that you can imagine in your mind when it comes to producing a car, right, or a plane's engine, jet engine, there are different sensors and different robots, for example, or different physical assets that actually are part of this factory operations life cycle. And we are receiving data out of these sensors in order to check, for example, their status, their health status, any challenges, any problems, any signals that we're getting in terms of potential maintenance needed or operations failure, right? So these are like the OT data that we are discussing about. And the challenge is how we seamlessly put that in a digital world and connecting the physical world with the digital world in what we call in manufacturing digital thread, right? Like an end-to-end life cycle of producing a plane's jet engine includes first the design of different parts, the completing and putting together these parts, how we simulate in software the operation of this jet engine, how we go and do a quality testing, right, of this jet engine, and then how we go and produce it on the factory shop floor. So this whole thread of execution of life cycle needs to have an interoperability between OT, operational data, and IT, information data. So when we look at this production life cycle, companies like Rockwell, for example, right, or Siemens, what they've done is to actually create these generative AI copilots in partnership with us, with Microsoft, to enable engineers, for example, to use natural language prompts for tasks like what is a product guidance for a specific asset, code generation for a specific asset, troubleshooting, specific error code explanations. This kind of, assistance of a custom copilot accelerates troubleshooting and also making the system design faster, right, and more intuitive. So companies like Rockwell or Siemens have actually identified a lot of benefits in terms of speed in system design and more, as I said, more intuitive kind of execution through other digital threads. Even like simple things, like the skilling of workforce it's a big challenge in this space. Because of the legacy, like there is programmable logic controller code that has been living for 30 or 40 years, and we're losing the skill set of modern workforce. So leveraging this kind of generative AI copilots, it makes it, and using natural language, it makes it much more easy to actually find the right documentation, code, produce code in a more automated way, autonomous way. We'll get to the autonomy piece. And also support, right? Support these assets on the edge. So this is like one primary area where we've seen our main software development companies to focus on when it comes to custom copilot solutions, and it's continuously updated with new capabilities, enhancing the engineer's productivity and efficiency when it comes to industrial automation system design, right? So the other category that we've seen, and it's a primary kind of focus area for custom copilot design and development, is part of the support operations of these companies for their end customers. Similarly, as I mentioned, maintaining such a legacy kind of systems and coding, having the Gen AI custom copilot support for providing that support to their end customers has been tremendous. Addition to the value that Siemens, for example, provides to their end customers. They have a natural language interoperability between their systems, their solution, and Teams Copilot in order to actually provide support, technical support to their end customers in any language, by the way. So this Copilot actually launched last year. We had the opportunity to present it to Hannover Messe last year, the biggest manufacturing conference in the world, based out of Hanover in Germany. So these are like two primary scenarios that we see in the space. And also, I would extend, as I said at the beginning, before I pause, I would extend into energy as well. We see similarly with Schneider Electric, for example, when it comes to what they call the smart grid AI assistant, to automate these responses from a smart grid operations and platform, providing more accurate responses and also shortcuts to finding defects, understanding the hardware footprint and emissions of physical assets on the edge, and also how these physical assets on the edge are doing, like their health state and how they're operating. So this is like, as I said, like the primary use cases that we see in terms of adoption. I would add, as I said at the beginning, the internal development and product development automation that we see by using, for example, similar to GitHub Copilot, Siemens has launched something that they call Engineering Copilot, which is a production of manufacturing code, pretty much, automating part of that. And fine-tuning these based on the large language models that they have been training as part of the legacy PLC code. Lastly, on that journey that I've been describing, and going back to my timeline, we had first-party copilots extensibility. We have custom copilots development and design today, the last 12 to 16 months. But definitely we see the shift into some of these custom copilots, how they get into agents. So higher level of autonomy and making sure that they're building an agent that can automate some of these high intense tasks and high intelligence tasks. Some of the examples I mentioned in the custom copilot category, now these companies have been working on transforming those in agents. The next step is building their own agentic ecosystem, right? Like imagine the digital thread scenario that I mentioned at the beginning. How you build agents ecosystem across this phase and every phase of digital thread, having an agent in each phase that they seamlessly communicate and they've been orchestrated amongst them to create a seamless digital thread operation. That's the future, though. We are not there yet, and that's what these companies are working on as we speak. And we are not there yet because of the technology state, to be honest. Like there's a protocol that is more broadly adopted, MCP protocol, the Model Context Protocol, by a lot of these companies today that they're working on the agentic implementation, the custom agent implementation on Azure. Nevertheless, there's still a lot of things coming up, definitely later this year and the next years to come, of course, when it comes to what we call the multi-agent orchestration. But more to come in a few months' time on that topic.
What's most interesting, Eleni, about what you just described was we hear a lot about chat with your data, how LLMs and agents will allow you to chat with your data
Right.
and take action on the data. What you're describing is the next step in that. It's really chat with your machine, right? Because you're pulling in the telemetry from a machine directly,
Right.
and able to understand the performance of that machine and query the performance. And with agents, probably change the performance of that machine autonomously. And with the reasoning agents with the ability to trigger actions.
Right. Exactly. Spot on. And we have these software development companies globally in the that we are working with, like Cognite, right? Like Cognite is an amazing partner that they are actually focused on these data industrial challenges. And that's their sweet spot. That's their expertise. They're managing, actually, they build an AI platform to create this connection between different data lakes through AI for their customers. So that their customers can enhance their production, their maintenance, their reliability processes when it comes to these end devices and data also that sit into other software systems. There are ERP, like SAP, right? Or finance data, invoicing data. Like there's data in the software world, the IT data that we discussed at the very beginning that needs to be connected to this life cycle. Another interesting, now you brought up a great point as well, like talking to the devices. Another interesting story that we have at use cases, we have is coming from PTC, for example, another great manufacturing global software development company that they built an application lifecycle management AI copilot with their code beamer copilot, where they are linking across all of the phases of the different digital production stages the status of the metadata of the physical asset, right? If it's a jet engine or a chair or a car, like whatever we produce in the manufacturing shop floor, they're actually automating the workflow of metadata and how these parameters change of the specific asset across the digital manufacturing phase. There's a lot going on, like for sure in that space, and we're very excited because we talked about the manufacturing digital transformation. We've been talking about it for the last 15 years, right? And it's great to see that in our generation taking place today, with industrial AI, industrial knowledge graphs that these partners are building to support the end customers in manufacturing. The journey will be slow, I have to say. Like I see the challenge because of the majority of the industrial customer bases has been there forever in a legacy system base for 4 or 5 decades, right? So it's really hard to move even into a hybrid cloud scenario. And that's the first step. That's the first big step that is happening today as we speak. And that's how, as Microsoft, we see to play a key role, to be honest, to support this foundational move to hybrid cloud. And then support from our great partners here, the software development companies, to build the layer of innovation needed for these customers on the data plane side and generative AI side. So yeah, I see. We are excited, as you understand. I'm very excited on that front, to be honest, and being at the edge of that forefront and solving real problems today. It's amazing.
So Eleni, so to your point, right? A lot of these technologies, a lot of these partners, the technology has been on the shop floor for 40, 50 years, right? So there's a little bit of a rethink that needs to happen. And many of these partners start with an AI COE, a Center of Excellence. And they likely started a few years ago. They have an AI COE, a traditional Center of Excellence. How do you see that evolving in the age of agentic? Are partners is the market going to have to rethink what a COE looks like? Are they going to have to rethink the people that they put into the COE in the age of agentic?
It is a very important topic for the software development companies we're working with today. At least two of them have developed their own right now Center of Excellence of AI innovation in close partnership with us. It includes Blue Yonder, a leader of supply chain globally, and also Sitecore, like a key partner worldwide in retail, financial services, consumer packaged goods, from an e-commerce side of the house. There are two main parameters that all companies, including our customers and partners, should be considering. One is the actual innovation and validation of the use cases that solve real problems. And also they have commercial viability, right? That's from a software development company perspective, this is key of our conversations in terms of how they bring value to the end customer versus having just one more AI feature or capability. We've seen the last 2 years a lot of stepping back, like the partners launch something and then they step back because they understood, okay, this is not something that creates value or builds value to the customer. The first and foremost is to validate and to ensure it's a viable capability that they bring into market that really transforms or solves for challenges that customers have, by also providing the opportunity to create new jobs, right? Because that's another thing that is top of mind, and we usually miss that angle. The reskilling opportunity of a lot of workforce talent on the ground when it comes especially to manufacturing companies, it's top of mind, like how this evolution of technology creates new opportunities for people to upskill and get better jobs in the near future. So that's one main angle, which is not easy to tackle. And what I've seen as a practice for a couple of practices I've seen in our software development companies ecosystem is creating an AI innovation board, like ensuring also there is a committee and board that looks at the AI solutions released to market holistically, considering this angle that I mentioned before, like the viability, feasibility, and value to end customers. And the second angle, which is very important, is responsible AI. This is especially for manufacturing, which is a highly regulated industry across the globe. And also it requires high attention to safety besides privacy and security. This is a critical area where all of the software development companies that we've been working with are reaching out and saying, what is your guidance, Microsoft, around that? How do we tackle the different regulatory frameworks across the globe, depending on the geography, where they operate within? And what kind of tooling we incorporate into AI Foundry, for example, to ensure that they can apply some rules when it comes to security, privacy, and safety of these applications. So those two angles, which is one, the viability, feasibility, and value to the market, and secondly, responsible AI, principles and applications, these are top of mind. And I see companies still figuring out how they apply those principles when they release or they adopt generative AI solutions. I repeat, a good practice I've seen in some of our software development companies is to build these boards, AI innovation boards, so that they can have an umbrella of executives that they look left to right and govern this execution of center of excellence.
So Eleni, as we look at the people that are engaged in this process, there are technical folks that develop the AI. There are on behalf of your partners, right? There are, I'll call it the sellers,
Right.
at your partners that are trying to convey the value of these new capabilities to their industrial customers, right? How are they having to be reskilled? How are the roles changing? The technical side is a little easier to understand. You take the new trainings on Agentic, et cetera, but there's probably a change there. And then on the seller side, there's probably a change in the conversation as well,
Yes.
right? How are these people's roles changing? How are the conversations changing?
Major transformation, and a couple of transformations are happening at the same time, to be honest. Like one is moving to more cloud native solutions because you need to have the cloud-based architecture and modern architecture to enable AI to begin with, right? So how do you bring your infrastructure, a control plane, if we're talking about a hybrid cloud solution in these environments tomorrow, that's the next step for all the industrial customers out there from on-premise to go into a hybrid cloud environment, to say the least. So how our software development companies, the ISVs we're working with, how do they skill themselves internally, their engineers and their product developers, to modernize their solutions, their platform. So there's a lot of work that we've been doing the last 2 to 3 years around this area with the software development companies to upskill themselves when it comes to modernization of platform, and also what Microsoft provides as services today as a bridge of this on-prem world and physical assets to cloud. We have Azure Arc, we have tons of other services, cloud services, that Microsoft Cloud services that these partners should incorporate into their solutions, right? That's step zero that has been happening and we have been working on when it comes to skilling of engineers from these software development companies. The second, I would say, priority of skilling is definitely on the data side. Like we see a lot of need around data engineering because of the unique value of how they bring the OT and IT data together. Data plane becomes so critical, independent of where this data will sit, right? Because that's the beauty of this world. Like it's so fragmented the last 40 or 50 years that these solutions have been out there in the world. The manufacturing customers have so high fragmentation and complexity of this data sitting in so many different sources. So the data engineering value that the software development companies can bring into these customers is unique. And we see investments when it comes to data engineering for software development companies that we are working with very closely. And that's another opportunity for new jobs, to be honest, and also upskilling or reskilling existing great engineers they have internally. Lastly, I would say on the software development skills and developers need to reinvent and look into how they enhance their productivity. There's so much in terms of evolution. Like, if developers are or people who work with developers are watching this afterwards, like I remember like IntelliSense feature, right? Like auto completion of code in environments like Visual Studio has been a revolution, and developers will say, oh, this will take our job away, right? And today, like 15 years later, 20 years later, we have GitHub Copilot and a lot of assistance and agentic assistance actually in the code generation piece. So how developers transform themselves to leverage that and take their productivity into the next level, it will be an amazing opportunity of skilling themselves to leverage that technology in the best of their interest, to be honest, and career opportunity. So these three areas for sure are like the key things and themes I've been noticing the last couple of years when we work with these manufacturing software development companies for sure.
So the opportunities are tremendous.
Yes.
There's fragmentation. There's a long history of machines and telemetry coming in, and there's a large opportunity for enhanced services of the equipment, etc. How is your partner ecosystem looking at the opportunity of new revenue streams because of the capabilities that Agentic brings to the table?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. The monetization, commercialization conversation started like 2 years ago when this company started to build copilots, right? And extending our first-party copilots, but also building their own custom copilots integrated with other copilots. Today's conversations around agents is about bringing the best and highest value to their end customer with an ecosystem of agents, their own ecosystem of agents, and then how their own ecosystem of agents will integrate with other agents that customer has. Imagine a customer like Rolls-Royce, right? Jet engines, for example. They have a multitude of different suppliers, as you understand, in their infrastructure and IT infrastructure, from SAP to ServiceNow to Blue Yonder to Siemens to Rockwell to PTC. So there's a set of different suppliers that are actually part of a customer's end-to-end solution. And the main benefit and value, monetization value, that these companies, software development companies, look at right now is how they can integrate their own agentic ecosystem to the rest of the agentic ecosystem that the customer has, because that will bring the vast majority of the opportunity. And honestly, just a quick asterisk here, I feel that's a golden opportunity, especially for system integrators in the future. Because they will be the ones probably that will play a key role on how they integrate these agentic ecosystems on customer sides. So a lot of monetization opportunity conversations are now around that topic, the integration and orchestration between different agentic ecosystems, where the technology and protocols are not there yet, right? Because we don't have a protocol broadly adopted today in terms of multi-turn, bidirectional, multi-agent orchestration. I believe that the revolution will come super fast on that front for sure. But still, we don't have that today. Still, companies believe that's the future. That's where they need to focus in order to monetize and provide the maximum value to their customers. So back to your question, we cannot assess or estimate exactly today, the monetization story and profitability when it comes to this multi-agentic ecosystem interoperability. Nevertheless, today there are some learnings in terms of monetization and profitability of the custom copilots deployment and usage by end customers. So our software development companies have been experimenting with different scenarios. Business scenarios, licensing scenarios, subscription scenarios, when it comes to their custom copilot capabilities integration to their own solutions. And there are learnings around that. And I'm happy to share some of these. I think we posted also some updates on Microsoft Docs when it comes to commercialization strategy and learnings already, so that every customer can have access to that information, and every software development company can have access to that information.
Excellent, Eleni. Excellent. One last question. You and I, we live in this world. We use agents at work. We promote agents with our customers and partners. There's a large community out there that is just starting the journey. Any advice that you have, any counsel that you have for those that are just now thinking about going down this path?
Yeah, great question. Experiment on the prompts, on things that you want to accelerate and get input from. All of this technology, it's always been the case, even more so today with generative AI. It enhances our human ability to excel. It's been built by humans, and it excels our human ability to do more and to empower more people and to empower more companies out there. So always the human factor and our intelligence and our expertise and domain knowledge plays a key role to put a layer on top of whatever you extract from all of the co-pilots and agents we are leveraging. A great example, and I will leave maybe the audience with that, is that we've recently launched, and you know James really well, out of the full Teams Copilot license, the Copilot license, there's two modules called Researcher and Analyst. And those copilots, agents are amazingly operating and providing great insights with different prompts when we want to do some market analysis or research, right? Analysis in our domain. So I would urge people to leverage that and use that and put their own domain knowledge on top of that, fine tune and leverage that in their daily work. There is a lot of value to actually assess how these agents can enhance our own productivity, our own day-to-day life, from simple things that are not that simple. Organizing my calendar is not a simple thing, or you know, finding information in across mailboxes, files, and chats. So from simple tasks, very intense though, tasks like that, to real market analysis, research, and business impact that people are looking for. Use that in your day-to-day work in order to understand how you can better leverage the outcome of this technology and also help you in your daily work, right? That's the most important thing. We are augmenting humans' capacity and always leveraging our humans' intelligence and knowledge, which is, you know, our key to progress, for sure.
So your advice is to start experimenting yourself,
Yes.
learn what these can do for you, and then that'll give you a better idea of how these can apply more broadly in your organization.
Spot on. Yes.
Thank you so much for your time today. Wonderful discussion. Look forward to coming back in 6 months and catching up with you on how the industry has progressed with
Thank you so
Agentic
much.
AI.
Thank you so much, James, for having me, and appreciate the dialogue. Great discussion, and looking forward to continuing that. Thank you so much.